Good evening, everybody. Hell's Unicorn here once again, and I'm doing yet another commentary on an encounter I had with another very unreasonable YouTube user, and this one is actually a fairly well-known one. He has a couple of different accounts. The one that I had most of my actual dealings with was the Lil Voka account, and this is spelled Lilvoka, and I've put the name in the description. I'll leave it up to you guys to find his channel if you so want to. My advice to you would be don't waste your time. There's not really much content on there. There's a bunch of videos basically giving random cliche establishment left-wing commentary on news, and there's some other crap as well. I'm just going to basically give you a short summation of what this guy's game is, and then you can get the general idea of why it is that I just happened to come across one of his videos and how a single comment and or criticism of his lack of insight on things quickly deteriorated into a very idiotic shit-slinging contest. And yes, to all who are watching right now, there is going to be a bit more profanity than average on this video, so if you're offended by it, then feel free to disregard this video and move along to something else. Essentially, I responded to the latest in a series of videos because I saw a comment that had been left by a friend of mine and another user here named B07 Rivera, and his first name is Bruno, and he's a fellow libertarian blogger here on YouTube. He's also a fellow Catholic, so we're both in a unique boat of being a handful of theists in a political movement that is largely made up of more skeptical thinkers in regards to theology, but nonetheless it is what it is. And I decided to go onto the channel, watch the video, saw that the commentary was not terribly insightful and not very intellectually stimulating, so I made a comment about how, apologizing for Obama's erratic policies are generally not helping the country at all, and I got a good dose of extremely unreasonable responses. I proceeded to respond back saying, you're not really looking at this the right way, and it turns out that this individual was actually a former Ron Paul and Dennis Kucinich supporter who then proceeded to disappear down Obama's backside around the time that the general election came around. Now, while I somewhat understand how this can happen because John McCain was a really terrible candidate, consistency of ideology would generally demand that somebody of this particular persuasion would vote for either the Green Party or the Libertarian Party or somebody else that's not part of the two-party system. But no, this guy decides to go with the quote-unquote lesser of the two evils, and then over time he develops a religious fixation with the president and is basically apologizing for every single thing that he does. And I quickly found out the hard way that this was all basically situated around this individual user's race, and it coinciding with the at least half of the race of Barack Obama. That's entirely what the motivation was for the entire conversation. All of the insults thrown at me, I spent zero time whatsoever talking about race. This was basically all him talking about this. And I've encountered this enough times that it really doesn't faze me a whole lot. The only thing that bothers me is that this kind of nonsense replaces actual rational thought. And these people vote, and I'm thus subject to their irrationality via the government and its irrational policies. So eventually what ended up happening was he ended up calling both me and Bruno Rivera white supremacists, completely oblivious to the fact that Bruno Rivera is Hispanic. This guy was classic, let's just put it that way. And then both of us proceeded to be blocked, and then immediately after that I received a nice cute little email or a little private message, and I'm actually going to read this for you because I think this is something that all of you need to hear. This is absolutely priceless. A link is provided at the top of this message, and this goes to a site called whitewatch.info. This sounds remarkably similar to jewwatch.com, which is, a site that's run by a particular fellow who has a lot of criticisms towards Israel, and he is a Zionist conspiracy theorist. I myself am an anti-Zionist, but this particular individual that runs JewWatch is a little much for me. But nonetheless, I looked on this site, and it's basically a bunch of anti-white nonsense. I mean, this makes the quotes that I read from Dreams from My Father a couple videos back look tame. But I'm going to read this actual section for you, and I'm going to occasionally interject to correct some obvious logical fallacies and misinformation that has been put into here. But this is really a joke. All right. I can picture your ass planting a pipe bomb near an establishment in the near future. Starting right off with the ad hominems. The difference between one group of radicals and you, they don't relish in firearms. Now, for all of you, in case you're wondering about this, what he's talking about is the fact that only white people relish in firearms. Well, let me throw a couple of statistics at you, Mr. Racist, and we'll see how things come out. All right, this is taken from about.com, and it deals specifically with homicide rates among young men, which was sharply on the rise between 1999 and 2005. According to the research, between 1999 and 2005, homicide involving firearms increased 31% among black men ages 25 to 45 and 12% among white men 25 to 44 years of age. But white people are the one that relish in firearms. You take a trip over to Kensington, Philadelphia, and you get a very different picture than the one that this individual was trying to paint with this really poorly worded statement here. Anyway, I've provided a link in the description for those statistics so you can check that out. But continuing on now. You are an example of the extremism in America. No one is looking for handouts here. You're just looking for someone to bitch at, and I guess that's a handout in my opinion. All right, well, let's stop right there. We are a nation that is basically predicated, or at least we have been for the better part of the past few decades, we're predicated on the notion of giving handouts. And we're giving handouts to people that are not productive. And it's not just, I'm not bitching because we're handing out money. This doesn't really even qualify as handouts because most of these people are retired or they've had jobs and actually produced something or contributed something to this country. People that are on Social Security, Medicare, people that are on disability and all of this stuff, I have never actively gone after these people. The people that I criticize are people that are on unemployment for over a year. I'm sorry, if you can't find work within a couple months, it's more than likely that you're either gaming the system or there's something else going on that has little to do with your ability to work and more with your desire to work. And the same generally goes with welfare. I mean, this country is, according to Sam Kinison, whose comedy I love, is basically the easiest place to make it in. So if you're not making it here, there's a good chance that you're not going to make it anywhere. So that's my general philosophy on it. I think that certain reasonable safety nets in order to maybe maintain civil society are in order. But when you're on unemployment for well over 8 months, you're gaming the system. I'm sorry. Anyway, continuing on. Your blood pressure will be highly up once you finish reading my long message directing you to websites that criticize you and your precious conservative libertarian assholes. You relish your sexual fetishes. And we're 4 paragraphs in and already he's throwing out sexual innuendos. Is it just me, or are liberals generally perverts that can't get sex out of their minds? Particularly kinky stuff. Anyway, continuing on. I can only imagine that you're going to eventually make a video or create bogus accounts to annoy the hell out of me. Because when you shut out a problem, the problem continues to come back being the total asshole they are because they felt that they had to get the last word in. for everybody's general recognition here, I was the one who was blocked, and since being blocked, I did not proceed to comment on his video again until I saw the video in question being loaded up with him having a conversation with himself and pretending to talk to me. So I used an auxiliary account to just put in a final statement saying, simply asking, why are you talking to yourself? All right, I'm not interested. I'm not watching your video anymore. But he was the one that was definitely seeking the last word in it, and that's why he blocked my other channel also. And then, proceeding on here, food for thought. If making an outrageous comment gets someone's attention, just think what a long message insulting your character can do. Well, at least he's being honest and stating that this is just about insulting my character and not about actually discussing something real. Perfect time to be an asshole, right? What bores me? People like you. Those who don't produce videos online. I've put up over 200 videos, so obviously, I just want to tell all of you right now, this is a copied and pasted message. The individual in question did not put this together. I would venture to guess, based on his video content, that he doesn't have the self-discipline and diligence to actually commit himself to writing something this long. But anyway, continuing on. But dare speak in 500 characters, typical bullshit, just to get reactions from those you don't agree with. But don't worry, this will clean the air. Well, the air is smelling pretty stinky right now, so maybe we'll get a little better. Let's see. Moving on. If you were half the human, you would just say, I don't agree with your opinion. But since you're an asshole, this is what I expect from a primate mind like yourself. For the first time, Hispanics and Latinos are the fastest growing population. Yeah, buddy, and you just insulted one. You probably sent this dumbass message to Bruno, fully unaware of what his race is. All right, continuing. Yeah. A browner day for the country. Asian Americans come in second and blacks and Africans are third. But guess what race is not rising? It's always a joke. For you to worry about black people what black people do is pretty much a joke. There's a reason for White Watch, and then he's plugging the website again. Here's a fact that you're denying. Hispanics are the fastest growing population. Over 50 million more are Hispanics, 34 million more blacks, and 14 million more Asians. For the record, everybody, abortion is generally highest among black women in this country, and so the numbers of increase in the black population are beginning to stagnate, which is really sad. Now, it is true what he's saying, that procreation amongst people of European ancestry here in America from a demographic standpoint are on the decline, but unlike Western Europe, we are still barely cutting it for replacement fertility, but just barely. Anyway, continuing on. White people are on the decline. A rapid change in demographics determines the interracial births are the prevalent in the United States. The prevalent. Some of this doesn't sound like, standard English. I think there's a little bit of slang being mixed in here. But anyway, continuing. Now, seriously, why are you bothering my page? Don't answer. You have no more comments. As of right now, you're blocked from responding. Ooh, feeling proud of himself now. Okay, moving on. It's the very reason why you crazy-ass white folks on the political right continue your hate of the future, a future where your race is going to be extinct, give or take at least 30 years. And this guy was calling me a racist right before he blocked me. Continuing on. I guess your primate brains will always think that blacks are the problems of society. Your neo-Nazi white supremacist rhetoric is typical of white males who have no life, no direction, and they seek advice from millionaire bigots like Michael Savage, Jared Taylor, James Edwards, Pat Buchanan, David Duke, or Don Black. For the record, with the exception of occasionally tuning in to some things that Jared Taylor has said and hearing some offshoot comments from Michael Savage, I have not listened to any of these people. And Jared Taylor is probably the only one that I really take seriously out of any of these. Anyway, continuing on. But every time a video comes out with the racial slur, you bigots find some way to always undermine me and other black users with this rhetoric. See, I fear no one. Whitey is not going to keep Lil Voca down. So I guess this actually was an original composition, but it's a very poorly written one. And unfortunately, it's one that I'm going to continue reading for all of you because I think you need to hear all of this just so you can hear what it is you're dealing with current day politics. What's keeping you down? Me verbally whooping your ass. If I would study the reactions of white males and the phobias of which you savor your hate in, I would be able to determine whether your primate response to the most outrageous things in the media assures what little value you hold upon society will be relatively short. It's like you're on the losing side of a culture war and it's not productive to put one entire race down. If you're looking for the so-called expletive deleted because I'm not repeating the N-word, you haven't found him yet. But if you're looking for the peckerwood in your neighborhood, you've found it in you. Facts can't deny your destiny as the minority. You make up over 27% of the world's population and at least 73% of this country's population. Hispanics, Asians, and blacks will become more a majority while white males will decrease to 46% and white women will be around 54%. I want you to get it through your thick skull that your behavior constitutes me attacking back with something that's going to have your panties up all in a bunch. My panties are not all in a bunch, for the record. I'm more laughing my ass off than I am getting my panties in a bunch, but continuing. Again, this is what assholes do. They get upset when they lose a debate. They resort to the disgusting tactic of playing the victim. For the record, if I lost the debate, why was I the one who got blocked? Call people racial, disability, or homophobic slurs. I did not use any of this language at all. You can look at the comment section. I made a couple of really, comical references to this guy having his head up Paul Krugman's ass because he was regurgitating stupid Keynesian economical gibberish, which I'm sure he probably never read. He probably just heard from him. Beyond that, there was nothing. There was no racial or handicapped or homophobic slurs of any kind. Talk about a person's family member. I'm sorry, man, I didn't talk about your mama. All right. Or people that have no effect on their lives whatsoever, or resort to saying someone's racist when they are called out on their ignorance. I'm not calling you a racist because you called me out. I'm calling you a racist because you're using the word whitey every other fucking word, man. Come on. And you're talking about the extinction of the white race. I mean, this is as idiotic as seeing those picket signs, kill anybody who calls Islam violent. Continuing. Again, this message is not only here to insult you as a human being, but to remind you why I exist, to make people like you irrelevant. You are driving yourself to heart attacks, ulcers, and serious brain damage. White people can't stand a black man in power, and they'll listen to assholes like the Tea Party movement, like James David Manning, who's black, by the way, Alex Jones, Rush Limbaugh, Michelle Malkin, Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity, I'm interested in about maybe 1/4 of the people that he mentions, and the other people I don't really follow very much. As a matter of fact, I don't really watch Fox News apart from Judge Napolitano's show and whenever John Stossel's on. Anyway, continuing on. To make a blanket accusation like that is the empathy of why people such as yourself are the reasons for the racism in the world. It's this and many other reasons for society to look past you instead of people you happen to target. In America, conservatives are looked down upon by many in the world. Society realizes that people like you are the reasons for international terrorism, economic catastrophes in the world trade, and selfish greed among the lower nations. Let me ask you something, genius. Who's bombing Libya? Who's conducting a secret war in Pakistan right now? And who was dropping bombs in Yemen not too long ago? And whose hen-hawk crowd of crypto-feministic scum is trying to monger more wars in the Middle East and in North Africa? I didn't vote for Bush. I didn't like him. But when you compare him to Obama from a foreign policy standpoint, they are at least equal, if not Obama being worse. So spare me that crap. All right, moving on here. When I read crap like this, I respond back and hit harder. Well, I'm sorry, your response is idiotic and utterly limp-wristed. Continuing. And I will hurt feelings. Well, mine are feeling just fine. You best believe that every off-comment and inaccurate comment left by you and many others here on YouTube will be called out and challenged. I am going to continue to make videos so assholes like you continue to express your emotional opinion about things that don't even affect your life. Well, I've got news for you. The economy of this country directly impacts my life, and just about everything else that Obama does or goes along with Congress doing impacts my life. All right, so I'm just going to skip that paragraph. That's just a little too idiotic even for my channel. See, I don't get upset with people like you. You hit me with a softball and I'll knock your ass out with a bowling ball. What? That was a complete logical contradiction, but I'm going to skip that one. I check out your page and I made this conclusion to make this easier for you to comprehend. You spamming people's pages with some made-up statistics. I didn't cite any statistics because I didn't get a chance to, just so all of you know. But who's to say whether or not you failed as a human being? For a grown-ass person, you certainly have no life ahead of yourself. And don't try to say, I got me a boyfriend, husband, wife, girlfriend, job, kids, and life crap. You wouldn't be wasting half of your time making off-the-wall comments on my page to get a reaction from me or others who don't agree with your boneheaded opinion. You still haven't backed up your earlier 500 comments. I made 3 or 4 comments with a source. Well, didn't really get a chance to put up any sources because I got blocked. Anyway, going on. For all you flag-waving, freedom-wanting, Bible-thumping, gun-toting, liberty-claiming, wanting their country back and claiming you love America more than everybody else crap, conservatives certainly are not bringing anything to the table to help with the economy, these wars, and the unemployment crisis. Oh my, come on, man. Come on. These wars. Which wars are you talking about? Are you talking about the wars that Obama is continuing to fight? Oh, jeez. All right. Anyway, I'm going to skip around a little bit because I know this is getting a little painfully long. All right. Whitewash is, in particular, is a website critical of white people in which it debunks the myths conjured up by people like you to paint blacks, Hispanics, Dr. Martin Luther King, President Barack Obama, and others as the problems. The only person that I mentioned as the problem was Barack Obama. I also happened to mention that John Boehner was part of the problem, and so was Harry Reid. And I got news for you. Those guys are about as black as I am. This, in return, gives me the comfort of making you mad over a website that takes on white people in general. The real problems are you and the people who support your insane views of the world. Now, if you were such a Billy Badass, how about showing it in the public eye? Instead of hiding behind the computer of your computer, why don't you spend your time making at least one video that actually passes over 100 views? This guy definitely didn't construct this for me. I get well over 100 views on every video that I put out, and some of my videos that are from earlier this year have well over 1,000. And when you do that, we'll see who acts out when you get thrown a racial slur, disability slur, or homophobic slur in response to your hard work. I normally don't get those kind of slurs. Normally what I get is I get people calling me what this guy calls me. And I laugh at it just as much as I'm laughing at this guy right now. Because every response may keep Barack Obama, the President of the United States, in office. Torture, right? You don't have to apologize for being an asshole. Understand it's all right. Fuck you and your family, your life, and whatever else I forgot to mention. Leave us not forget that earlier he was complaining because I had allegedly done what he just did to me right there, which obviously I didn't do because I didn't really have much time to. I had time to put up about 3 or 4 comments. All of them were specifically focused on economics. Towards the end, I got annoyed with the guy because the guy was being obnoxious, and so I made a few colorful metaphors, specifically the notion of him having his head up Paul Krugman's ass, and I think that bruised his little ego, and so he proceeded to send me this obviously pre-prepared pile of shit. So I'm just going to close this all out just by saying something right now. This is not something that's unique to black liberals or other minority liberals. This is the way that most progressive thinkers think, and it's, you know, it's basically not a matter of thinking. It's more of a reactionary emotionalism. And it's distinct from neoconservatism, but it's just as idiotic. And whenever I get thrown this stuff, I always think it prudent to make a public spectacle of it, because all of you need to see that this is exactly what goes to the voting booths at every election and gives us what we have right now. This is precisely what the problem is. And I'll say it again. Buddy, you are the problem, not me. So anyway, I look forward to all of your comments. Let me know what you think, and I might actually post this screen capture of this particular message at some point. Not on this video, though. I don't have time to do it right now. So anyway, looking forward to your comments. With prudence to myself and benevolence to all of you, good evening.